You can watch my entire 20-minute interview with Daryl online right now on nmpbs.org or on the New Mexico in Focus YouTube page. Now, I'm joined at the table by Ellen Bernstein, president of the Albuquerque Teachers Federation, and Joy Garrett, state representative representing Bernalillo County, and also a former educator. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Now, Representative Garrett, I want to start with you. You co-sponsored House Bill 130 in January, along with Representative Andres Romero. Now, in an interview with the Santa Fe New Mexican, he called PED's proposal, quote, an affront to the legislative branch. How would PED's new idea change the bill that you helped pass?
Lou, that is an important question. House Bill 130 established 1,140 hours of instructional time, with 60 hours embedded for professional development for K-8 and then 30 hours for secondary. And this bill was reached through extensive collaboration, discussion, talks around the state, meetings with teachers, unions, district people, parents, as a way to extend the learning hours, but reasonably ensure that we had time for teachers to prepare. The proposal by PED takes away local control, because now they're saying you can't do the hours the way you want to. If your district successfully has 4-day weeks, you can't do that anymore. You have to have 180 days of instruction. So it's a significant change. And it doesn't honor the fact that teachers help their students the most when they observe good live teaching in a classroom with a successful lesson delivered by a successful teacher. So it really completely violates the intent of House Bill 130, what it was trying to achieve, and the hours and days of work and consultation that went into bringing it to the House and the Senate and unanimously passed.
Do you share Representative Romero's concerns about separation of powers and how this was pushed through?
Absolutely. It's a violation of the separation of powers, and it's a slap in the face of the legislative process, of the Legislative Education Study Committee, that at all of their interim meetings addressed this issue, had extensive dialogues publicly on webcasts. It really violates that separation of powers.
Now, Ellen, I want to get to you on your perspective on House Bill 130. We heard from a teacher in Santa Fe on this, but what are you hearing from members in the state's largest school district as far as the effect of House Bill 130?
Well, a couple of things. I want to say that it's not just about local control, but I think the rule actually changes the law. And in my opinion, I don't think rule is allowed to change the law. I think the law was very clear, and during the discussion and the debate, when we were all talking about is extending the school year, increasing the number of minimum hours, the right thing to do in our state, part of that conversation was the importance of adult learning and how it impacts student learning. And what we appreciated, while it was very controversial to just add hours, because there are many other ways that we as educators would like to see the state respond to our needs. But when they decided to increase the hours in addition to supporting adult learning, not only does our personal experience, but the research actually supports the idea that students do better when adults are learning. If our practice never evolves, and yet we're expected to do different, better, deeper learning with our students, then it's a disconnect. And what 130 did was make that connection. What we think now as teachers is, could you stop messing with us? Could you just do more supportive work that will help us do our jobs instead of constantly rearranging things and then expecting different results? What we need is still to norm out after the pandemic. We need to engage kids in deeper learning. We need to get kids to come to school, because the other part of the conversation going on in the LESC is the fact that we have a lot of truancy problems. We want to get our kids in school. We want to make sure we're focusing on what they need intellectually, emotionally, socially, and we just want the PED to understand that messing with law right now is the opposite of support.
Now, earlier this month, a number of teachers from Santa Fe Public Schools spoke before the Legislative Education Study Committee against the increase of instructional days, specifically this PED proposal. Representative Garrett, as a member of that committee, what was the overall sentiment amongst the committee members, and was there anything that stood out from you from what teachers had to say?
Yeah, and I want to emphasize the House Education is a committed bipartisan group. As Representative Brian Baca says, who's an administrator? He says, we're not Democrats and Republicans, we're educators. We listened to those teachers. It was a hard lift for many of them to extend to 1140 hours, but they did it as they saw us incorporate these things, like the 60 hours of embedded professional development, not added on. So although they would have preferred to have more counselors, more social workers, they accepted it. The districts, our 89 districts and our 100 charter schools, bent over backwards to incorporate House Bill 130 into their planning for this year. To suddenly be asked to change everything for next year is really unacceptable. The other thing I want to mention, because I've heard from numerous superintendents by phone call and by letter, is that using the 4-day week in many of our rural areas allowed them to finally fully staff themselves. Their absenteeism wasn't such a big problem. Their attendance became better. I think it was 26% as opposed to 40% chronic absenteeism. So there's a lot of healthy things that happened by allowing districts and schools to adapt that 1,140 hours to fit their local situation, their rural situation, their urban situation, their focus, everything.
Okay. Now, Ellen, what existing problems, and you touched a little bit on these earlier, but what existing problems might be neglected if this PED change goes through?
Well, if the PED change goes through, I think what you're going to see is some really experienced, wonderful teachers just saying, that's it, I'm done. And the most important thing we could focus on right now as a state are retention techniques. We have an older workforce. We have a lot of teachers statewide who are eligible to retire. They're doing amazing work with kids in our schools, and we cannot afford to exacerbate the shortage problem by having a lot of people say, you've changed my working conditions again. You've added more to my plate again. And I think I'm not doing what I want to do with kids because of these ever-shifting mandates, and I'm done. And we just can't do that. It is very clear that experienced teachers matter in the learning of kids. And one of the reasons, that people are complaining that our test scores aren't going up fast enough, but one of the reasons is because we have such big vacancy rates. If we alienate a bunch of experienced teachers or new teachers who are going to just quit and go find a new job, then we're not doing what's best for kids. So we have to keep looking at the whole picture.
Now, there's a growing list of people who oppose this PED change proposal. Teachers, parents, state legislators, administrators. Why is there such a disconnect between these groups and the public education department in your view, Representative?
My view is that House Bill 130 was vetted by all those groups over a year. Unfortunately, PED just produced this. I found out an hour before the presentation at LASC what was coming down. And I'm a sponsor of the bill. I met with the governor privately, and I told her in our one-on-one conversation that you have to allow time for laws to take effect. You can't change a law 4 months after it's gone into practice. So I think it's a huge disconnect in communication. PED has not vetted this at all. The day that they've set for public testimony is the first day of Christmas break, Monday, December 18th. I find that incredibly disrespectful.
But I also want to point out, APS educators are still working on the 18th. So I will be asking for all of their input So when I go up to give public testimony during the hearing for the rule change, I have the thousands of teachers behind me and their voices coming in loud and clear because they will be at work that day.
One thing I wanted to ask about, maybe being blindsided by this a little bit, in your view, were they involved in the crafting of House Bill 130? Was this proposal about shifting that metric from hours to days on the table at any point before this proposal came out?
It was well discussed. People have different opinions. Some people believe that we need to add 2 weeks for teachers to study and do professional development outside of the school year. There's a lot of opinions. And so the 1,140 hours represented a compromise between adding additional instruction hours and not adding so many that the school year would be ridiculously expanded. Now, the law allows for districts and charter schools to add additional days, and they get additional funding for that. Again, that's a local decision that's worked out among all the stakeholders in a given district or charter school.
Okay. Now, a lot of this conversation has been framed as, can anyone think of more time with teachers as a bad thing? Is that how you see this equation? Is anyone arguing that? Or is that a legitimate argument, I guess is what I'm asking?
It's not a bad thing, it's just not the only thing. And, we're creating as a state a huge investment in additional time without looking at where we need to also invest. And I think the representative was right. If you ask any teacher in the state, if you have more nurses, more counselors, more social workers who are able to work with families and kids and help regulate what they need to make sure when they're in school, they're doing well, they're able to focus, they feel safe, they feel fed. If that's our job, we need to invest in that also. We need to make sure that we really honor the fact that the pandemic, the effects of that, and the way it's dysregulated families and kids, and we're still trying to get back on our feet and make schooling the norm and make sure that we're able to meet those emotional needs of kids. I mean, it's still going on. So I know I had a colleague who used to say, I'm full of holes from silver bullets. And that's what this feels like. It's not just one silver bullet that changes the educational outcomes for all kids. It's a really intricately woven fabric of intentional design, and we should be working together on that.
Now, I want to ask each of you this, but after all these public comments, the December 18th actually in-person public comment session, and the online has been open for a long time, and it seems to be pretty well skewed as opposed. Do you think that this will pass despite all of that?
Well, it's not a bill that passes. It's a rule change by PED making a mandate. How they're going to respond to the public outcry, I don't know. We'll have to see. But what I'm hearing is people do not want this change across the board, whether they're families, educators, it doesn't matter. They're very displeased about it.
And I don't think we can afford in the educational community another break in trust. And I think if the educational community is saying, and probably a fair number of the parent community saying, don't mess with this. We just started this. Let us get our heads and our practices around the change. Let's see what happens over some time. And if they don't listen to that and they impose the rule anyway, that's going to be a huge break in trust. It's going to cause a lot of turmoil, and that's the opposite of what schools would benefit from.
Understood. Ellen Bernstein, Representative Joy Garrett, thank you so much for talking to me about this.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.